he's put this up, he's realized, he's deleted his Instagram, and then they've realized that it's out of control. He has to come back to Instagram the next day to issue clarifications.
Yeah.
So that whole day, the day where you're recovering from this meltdown, is probably gone in doing your job as a public figure.
You don't allow the person to have a moment. Like the person has clearly had a meltdown, and the way the PR machinery has just rushed to kind of whitewash it and giving clarifications after clarifications, which makes me kind of feel if you want to be honest and candid about your mental health struggles, it has to be Instagrammable.
There's a young girl by the name of Misha Aggarwal who died by suicide. The reason that's being cited is that she really wanted to get to 1 million Instagram followers. And it's so weird to me that it happened in the same week that Adam Mosseri was dancing around and stuff. What kind of world are we living in?
Ironic. Yuvaa put out this video with Rebel Kid.
Yeah.
And she spoke about how, the community didn't stand up for her. The lack of noise that this community makes, it's so deafening. The silence is just so deafening. Okay, hi. Welcome back to So What with Kevin Lee. He's still here. I've not stolen his job. I'm just doing the intro because he's a little out of touch with the intro bit. So I said, let me take that pressure off you. It's been a while. We have been absent for 5 weeks, is what Kevin told me. But we're back now. We're hoping to be more consistent. And hopefully we'll tell you why we were absent for 5 weeks.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of things were happening.
Some good.
Some good.
Some not so good.
Maybe we won't tell you about the not so good things.
Maybe not.
Yeah. But yeah, we felt like now is a good time to be back because there is a lot of stuff happening and we want to talk about it. We had opinions and that's what we do. We give opinions unsolicited on the internet.
Yeah, I'm sure you missed us even if you didn't write to us and tell us that you missed us.
Why did we get 0 DMs about you
my
missing
parents
us?
asked me.
Oh yeah.
We're glad to be back. Thank you, Garima, for taking off the pressure of doing that intro for me.
I don't know if I was good, but yeah.
You were good. We'll see in the edit depending on which version we pick.
Then you'll reshoot.
It's possible.
Calling Naz
But
again.
we are happy that we're back. Welcome back to So What. So Garima, how are you feeling and what is your rose and your thorn?
So many weeks have gone by and so many, I think, good things have happened. I was away for a week or so because my best friend got married. So that was huge. Yeah, it was like my first like really, really close friend getting married. So that was all feels. And I attended a very wholesome Swanand Kirkire concert and I really like his songs. I love the poetry he does in his songs. I did my aerial arts showcase, which I was really excited about. So a lot of good things happened, and
That's awesome. That's all good stuff. I mean, you are now at the age where your close friends are getting married.
Yeah.
Like, how old are you now?
I'm 27.
Okay, yeah, that sounds
Turning
rightish.
28 this year. But one of my friends had a baby last year, so
Yeah.
and she's my age, so that's also like.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I am now at the age where all my friends are having babies.
I thought it was like getting divorced.
No, not yet.
God forbid.
I think that's maybe 3 or 4 years in
3
the
years
future.
down the line.
No, but that's awesome. I'm so happy for
What's your
many
rose?
roses.
Thank you.
My rose is actually something that you might have seen on social media. Yeah.
That's my rose too.
No, she didn't say it.
That's
She didn't
my
say
rose
it.
too. Nikhil is gonna kill me.
is finally a father. He's living that girl dad life. Daisy gave birth to a beautiful baby girl and a really beautiful baby girl.
That's
She's
true.
just like really
We met her
pretty. on the day she was born.
on the day she was born. Yeah.
And her name is Noor. And if you don't follow Be a Dad Yaar, then you're missing out on updates. So it's very wholesome. Go and follow it. But my rose is not just that she was born, which is great for her. But my rose has to be about me. So yesterday I gone to meet Nikhil for work stuff. And then Daisy and Nikhil told me that they want me to be Noor's godfather. Which is so badass, the godfather, but it's such a cute baby. And also they specified that I am the only godfather. Like the minute he said it, I felt this sense of responsibility. And I have to learn, like my baby handling skills are not great. I don't know how to hold a baby also. I'm just like awkward. And I feel just really scared that I'm going to drop the baby.
What are the responsibilities of a godfather?
In case they die, which I'm hoping they don't.
No, but I mean, of course, that I know. But
Yeah.
like in day
Oh,
to day.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mostly it.
Okay.
And then whatever they ask,
Okay.
which I was, as Nikhil's employee, doing anyway.
Do you have to pay for her education?
No, hopefully not. Hopefully this podcast and this company becomes big enough that it pays for her education.
Let's
So in a
go.
way, yes.
In a
but
way,
but in a
yes.
way, no. So very excited about being her godfather.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm really...
You'll be a great
And
godfather.
then before I was leaving, Nikhil made me like shake hands with her to like seal the deal. So I just like put my finger and she grabbed my finger because babies do that.
course.
Don't take it personally. Yeah.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah,
You seem
so
to
I'm
not be knowing that.
Just in general. So she held my finger and it was a cute little like, I'll protect you.
Oh,
Which is very sweet.
you said that, right?
Of course. She can't talk yet.
Yeah.
She's 6 weeks old. But I'm happy and grateful for that. What was your thorn?
Oh, I think I spoke about my aerial performance, which was supposed to be my rose. It was my rose, but then it also turned out to be my thorn because the performance was okay, but a lot of technical glitches happened because of which my performance was not as smooth, and I don't think I'll be able to like upload it on social media and show off, which was the whole point of a showcase. So yeah, I'm a little upset, a little bummed about that, but next time, I guess.
I'm sorry. That sucks.
Yeah.
It's the like production issues are just
Yeah, you guys will know.
everywhere. Yeah, we deal with it, but this
Yeah.
yeah.
What's your thorn?
Oh wow, it's a good question. I feel like in general, and this is not personal, like my rose, I feel like since PRECAP happened, just this sense of unease and I won't say anxiety because I don't think it's the right term for it, but just like uncertainty about stuff. Like when Balkot happened, we had the surgical strikes quickly after. And it was just like over sooner, I feel. It just feels now like there's some impending, like tomorrow, for example, they're doing drills in a number of states where you have to simulate if there are like blackout conditions or if something happens, how do you respond? And the thing that's been most annoying is the TV channels and the mainstream media who are just like calling for war, which is so, and I'll probably get into it later.
Yeah.
But I think that's just been affecting my mental health a lot. So what happened this week? A lot of things happened and we actually want to talk about 2 or 3 different things that have happened. But the first, and I feel like perhaps something that's not been spoken about a lot, is that there was a young girl by the name of Misha Aggarwal who died by suicide. She was a content creator and an entrepreneur who had kind of her own brand. And the reason that's being cited for her suicide by her sister and her family is that she really wanted to get to 1 million Instagram followers. She was at 350,000, which is not easy to get to by any means.
Yeah, it's a terrific number.
Yeah, it is a great number, especially now that because of Reels, you don't really have to follow somebody to get updates from
That's
them.
a good point, yeah.
But it's clearly not enough. And it's so weird to me that it happened in the same week that Adam Mosseri was actually visiting. So you saw him like dancing around and stuff, which is wholesome and sweet in its own way, but kind of also like,
Yeah.
what kind of world are we living in?
Ironic.
Yeah. So the fact that that's happened, wanted to talk a little bit about that and the link between mental health and social media. And there are like a few related things there that I think we'll get into. But you and I, like you used to work at Yuvaa.
Yeah.
And I feel like for us, like as a company, a very important thing when we started off is hitting social media targets and hitting numbers.
Yeah.
So I think we see it on a company level, but I feel like it's gotten much worse in the last 5 years because discoverability is so hard.
Yeah.
And also it seems like the shelf life of creators or how long they're relevant has really shrunk. Which makes it like even with people that you think are successful creators, there is so much of a mental health problem because they are constantly trying to see who their competition is and edge them out and do things for followers. And sometimes they do things that are problematic, like downright wrong just for that. It's become like a whole, like it's a proper manifestation of the rat race, I think. And social media has an impact on mental health even for people who aren't creators. So obviously if you are expected to put out content on a day-to-day basis, it does get to you. But I feel like this really is one of those wake-up calls where I feel like as we've graduated into this era where we know social media is a thing and reels are a thing and influencers are a thing, one big flashpoint for me was when we started seeing people dying when accidents happened related to them filming reels. It had become like a common thing, and last year there were a couple of cases that came out. But a case of death by suicide for somebody who felt like they weren't getting enough followers, I think it's the first big kind of case that we've seen. And I have this uncertain feeling that it's not going to be the last, because I know a lot of people personally who are dealing with this.
Yeah.
But would love to hear like what your reaction was, or if you've had time to kind of think about it and what your reflections are.
So I saw a lot of reactions which said that she seemed like a smart girl, and she was very optimistic about hitting certain numbers, so it seems very unlikely that she's taken this step, which is literally how mental health works. It works in strange ways. You don't realize it, you don't see it on the surface, but I really thought about it, and I kind of did some contemplation, and I thought about, it's like, if you were to draw parallels, it's like people say you shouldn't chase money, right? But they want to say it after they get rich. You people want to say, oh, don't chase numbers, but they want to be able to say it after they hit like 1 million and then say, oh guys, don't chase numbers, it's not worth it, right? So I think I understand the pressures, because it is a job after all. It is, you have to hit certain numbers, you have to hit certain targets. It's like any normal job where, like a salesperson has to hit their sales targets. So the pressure is real. But I think where the difference really comes in is where it doesn't operate like a normal 9 to 5, right? Because you can sort of switch off after work. The pressure is limited to your workspace. And here there are no such rules. There is no structure in place. It's a 24/7 workplace. People are constantly in your workspace. You have to be authentic. There's so much pressure. So it feels very, I couldn't very easily say that, oh, she shouldn't be, one shouldn't take numbers so seriously, because one has to take numbers seriously. This is your job. But at the same time, you cannot link your self-worth to numbers. And that got me thinking that it's again easier said than done, because in this world where your 9 to 5 has really, annoying bosses, the appraisals are terrible, the economy is hard, I don't see why anyone would not look at social media as, a career option. In a world where you find kinship online with strangers who get you better, who understand your mental health, who don't, body shame you, who get you better than your family, who still is struggling to understand a lot of, the woke culture, or is just struggling to just be there for you. I don't see why someone would not want to be on the internet and find that sort of solitude on the internet. So I just want to, first of all, if anyone is listening, if she's listening, I really want to kind of just take that pressure off, because it's not her fault that she sort of put all her eggs in the basket of social media, right? It is just the way the system is designed, which is just the way the world is designed. It's sort of unfortunate. And this is where we're at. You and I have both felt this when we were starting Yuvaa. The numbers game was really, it used to really bother us, and we used to, all our strategies used to be around it, and I very respectfully backed out of it. I said, I can't do this. I remember I used to, and I'm just digressing for a minute, I remember there was a time, in fact the feature of Reels rolled out during the COVID, pandemic in 2020, and it was not even part of my KRA to make Reels initially. We had people who were, creators, and it was the part of their job. So I was just doing it for the numbers, because it's the number of Reels you put, so the chances of one Reel making it viral, you increase, it's just probability, right? So I was just doing it for the sake of it, and then it became part of my KRA. And I kid you not, I don't know if we've ever spoken about this, but every time I had to shoot a Reel, my body would freeze. I would go through such immense mental health, mental turmoil, and it used to feel so stupid, right? Because what do you mean your body is freezing up because you just have to like go in front of a camera and just probably even say scripted things, because a lot of times if you're working for a company, it's branded stuff. So you have a script ready, and even you can script it if you're doing it by yourself. But just the pressure, because it's so this instant gratification thing, it can also be instant not gratification, right? It's not, gratification is not assured. So this like complete this spotlight on you, which is there on social media, can really affect you, and it used to affect me. And I very openly to the company said I can't do this anymore. Which is what I am coming to here, is that we've reached a point, it's point of no return, where creators are feeling this pressure of numbers, pressure of brand deals, because numbers are not just numbers, right? Like numbers equals recognition, equals money, equals stability, equals and stability somehow is related to mental health, right? So it's just, but at the same time, it really breaks my heart when certain influencers, and I'm not going to take any names because I can't think of any. It's not like I have someone in my mind, but this has happened time and again where creators talk about how hard work is the key. I work so hard. I write my own scripts and this and that, and therefore I have all the success that I have, which is so untrue, because there are so many other factors at play, about timing, about just luck, about what rooms are you in, who's sharing your content when you're not a big content creator. If one piece of content gets reshared by someone big, it makes such a huge difference. You get recognized. It's about so many things. There are so many factors at play, and I just hope and I just wish that creators would talk about this more, that they just would point out that it's not just hard work, because, and we've heard this so often, right, that you are the brand on social media. So when a video of yours doesn't work, the failure feels so much more personal, because it doesn't feel that my reel didn't work. It feels like I failed, I didn't work, people are rejecting me. And that, I think, is a tough pill to swallow. It's not easy, especially at a younger age, especially at an age where social media is raising you up, like the internet is raising you. So I just wish creators would, have more like honest conversations about how tough it is to make it. And last point, I know I've broken into this really long monologue, but just one more thing. Yuvaa put out this video with Rebel Kid, and she spoke about how the community didn't stand up for her. And I'm sorry to say, but the community has not stood up. I have not seen a lot of noise around Misha Aggarwal as well, which is really sad, because she's one of you. And sure, maybe you have figured out a way, maybe you have agencies backing you and you don't feel this sort of pressure and you have other things going on for you, but she's still a part of your community. And the lack of noise that this community makes, it's so deafening. The silence is just so deafening. So I just wish there was, just more candid conversations around the pressures of being on the internet, because it's very real, and I have not even dipped my toes in it, but I know it, like I feel it and you feel it. So
I think you made so many interesting points, and I want to also compartmentalize it because there's so much nuance in what you've said, but I feel like this is also going to be a little bit meta, and not just Meta the company, but meta as a conversation, because I feel like one of the reasons that people don't talk about this is because of the algorithm and because of the fact that they don't think it'll do well. I think like the lines blur so easily for creators, because it's not just a job, especially when you are putting out your face. You are the product that you are selling. And if you're thinking from the line of, this is not just my audience, but this is my community, because social media is interactive. So you're putting up something and in the first 10 minutes, you're getting like hundreds of comments or DMs or messages from people who are following your life. What happens is when you put something out that is personal and it's not something that the algorithm is going to pick up. So in the first 10 minutes, it's not getting as much engagement as your other posts. So the algorithm realizes that, and then it doesn't reach enough people. If something that you really care about you're putting is getting far less likes and comments and shares and engagement as opposed to something that you're doing for a brand or doing for a trend, it's feeding you the information that you are not as important as your content, right? And I feel like that is the core reason why creators don't want to also seem like they are complaining about stuff. Because when have we ever been kind to creators when they've complained about stuff? We're going to talk a lot about Babil Khan and his video and how the response to that has also overwhelmingly just been like trolling. And I mean, Nikhil did a video and that's a good rant on it. But we've been seeing this guy struggling from the time he lost his dad. We've been seeing him struggle very publicly. This is not the first case where we're seeing it and we're like, something is off. There have been so many things in the past. And those become topics of discussion for that particular time as long as it's in the news cycle or relevant to the algorithm. And then it dips out, right? So I feel like so much of it is linked to the fact that social media is a force that we know exists in our lives, but we are not able to compartmentalize and say, this is purely my work or this is my community and this is where I go to feel less alone versus all of the many things that it is to us. And whether you're a creator, whether you're just a user of social media, those lines are constantly blurring because you're being encouraged to create. And I think like the point that really hit hard about this when I empathized with Misha also, from the point of view of running a company that is primarily distributed on social media and hence we also have to care about numbers. The thing that really hit me is that you aspire, you draw goals and say in 2 years, in 3 years, I want to be at 1 million followers. And in a best case situation, you'll reach there. And once you reach there, 1 million followers means much less than it did when you set that goal.
Yeah.
Because initially it started out where there were whatever, like maybe 5,000, 6,000 creators. Now I've lost count of and it's not, that's the thing, we're saying 350,000 is such a good number, but how many people have 350,000 subscribers or followers now? Yeah. And hence like this expectation also that there is a community. I don't think a lot of people would be aware of her before this happened, because the very well-known creators who are now at like a 8 million, 10 million and above is a community because they share the same stages. They are probably being the people who are recognized now by Bollywood or the mainstream. So they are getting, but everybody else is just pushed to the side. And that makes you feel increasingly isolated, that you have worked so hard to get 350,000 followers, but it's not 1 million. Yeah. And by the time you get to 1 million will mean much less than it does today, which is heartbreaking as a rat race, right? It's like, imagine if like you're in school or college, and by the time you finish your degree, that degree like doesn't mean anything, right? Which is happening also, but happening at a slower rate. So I feel like there's plenty of good stuff that I'm sure has come out of this creator boom. And we talk about the creator economy and the amount of jobs that it creates. And like you said, like 9 to 5s are also not great and the economy is not in a great space. So it's not, I think the thing also to be said, to be fair, is that it's not completely about luck. So it's not like making a viral reel is similar to winning the lottery. There is skill involved in the sense that obviously you have to like...
But replicating that virality is very hard.
That is very tough. And then that also, I feel like the most heartbreaking thing for us at Yuvaa also was not necessarily when we were supposed to hit say 500,000 and we were stuck at 300,000, but when we were stuck at 300,000 and then started sliding backwards. Because what is also a reality at that follower level is that you will lose followers every day. It just happens. And this is something that I feel like people who are not creators might not understand, because it doesn't happen to your personal profile. You hit a certain amount of number. If you're not relevant, it's not just that you're staying in the same place. You are sliding backwards. And that's such a helpless feeling. Say, I'm trying everything. I'm not good enough for the internet.
And the concept of a break also just collapses, right? Because if I take a break, I'm just going to be relevant and then... Yeah,
it's non-stop. It's relentless. It's a rat race. That's the thing. And I feel like it's the first generation of people who has to deal with this problem, right? Because I also think on some level, and I'm not a sociologist or psychologist, but I'm not sure if like human beings were meant to like reach out and listen to the opinions of so many people. It's crazy. Like you grow up and how many friends do you have, right? And even when Facebook first became a thing, the popular people had like 2,000 friends on Facebook. That was a number, right? And you're saying now that you have like 350,000 people who follow you, you're exposed to thoughts. And I'm sure, because it is a woman, I'm sure that there is also a certain amount of hate and misogyny that you're getting. You're getting creepy messages also. You're getting messages from brands that want to take advantage of you also. It's really, really sad. And I don't know the solution because nobody is also taking accountability to build this safe space or to build these guardrails. Like everybody wants to say it. And I think we are also guilty of that. Like we will say that we want to be a mental health positive space. it's in times like this that you need to be that mental health positive space, right? So like for all the talent agencies out there, for all like social media platforms out there, I feel like this is the time to put your money where your mouth is. I have not done a complete... I don't know for sure if when Adam Mosseri came to India, this was one of the things that was discussed at all. I will say I have not seen it on popular feeds. I have seen dancing reels, a lot of dancing reels.
Actually, I've heard this Misha thing only being discussed on Reddit. I've not seen it being discussed on social media at all.
I feel like, there is a need for all of us to do better because I don't think social media is going anywhere. It's, we talk about disruption as a good thing, but there are also bad effects where disruption, you don't know how to regulate this thing because it's literally disrupted the way that we live.
And now it's not just social media, it's AI. So it's like, it's really spiraling out of control. Recently I was just thinking about it, and I might be factually incorrect or I haven't checked my facts, but like when world began, right? Like, and alcohol was discovered and people were getting addicted to it. You think like people who were drinking a lot of it, they weren't being called addicts, I'm sure. They were just like, oh, this is normal, right? And do you feel like sometimes that this will become a huge problem? Because I have started feeling like time is stretching in my brain every time I'm on social media, and I've put a strict, like I've put 1 hour. So every day my time on Instagram is 1 hour now total, and it shuts off at 10 p.m. And I'm only like, I can't use it from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. And I've put this, and if I have to cheat, I have to go on my laptop. Like if someone's actually sent me a very long message or like something I need to watch, or I saw something interesting and the time is up, I have to go on my laptop and do it. It's like I'm losing it. Like just from a viewer perspective, I'm absolutely losing it on Instagram. I can't imagine what the creators are going through. Like if this is your bread and butter, it's... I feel like this is an episode of Black Mirror.
I don't think we understand the mental effects. There have been so many of these documentaries, etc. also that have come out, but I feel like, it's just getting a little bit out of hand now.
Yuvaa should do something about it.
We should. Do you want to talk about, we briefly touched upon Babil Khan and the fact that he, and here again is an example of somebody who's talking about mental health on Instagram, right? He put out that video on his stories. Circulated everywhere. He deleted it, deactivated his account, but it was too late because people had receipts.
Picked it up,
So it went everywhere. And then there was this conversation for a while that maybe it's a PR campaign that he's doing. And then he kind of came back on Instagram and clarified that it had been taken out of context. There are actually 2 videos, and the people that he had named, some to were incorrectly named. So for example, some names were just wrong. So he didn't mean Arjit Singh, he meant Arjun Singh, who's the director of Kho Gaye Hum Kahan.
Arjit's heaving a sigh of relief.
It's like, what did I do? But also that the names that he named were apparently people that he was saying have actually supported him, as opposed to people who are messing up the industry. And then there's been a bunch of support from Raghav Joya, Siddhant Chaturvedi.
The people he named.
Who I think that's a cool thing.
That's cool.
That they have like clarified immediately by kind of posting his statement.
I agree.
So there are few corners of the industry where that support is there. But the larger media discourse around it has not been great. And here's an example of somebody who you can see is going through a mental health issue. We can't find it in our hearts to be kind to that person, despite the fact that he is grieving the loss of his father. And his father was such a well-respected figure who genuinely, when we lost Irfan, like that felt personal to so many people. What did you make of it?
We talk so much about nepotism and we talk about how there are so many benefits to it. But I think the one downside is also that when you are the son of someone this accomplished, you don't just inherit their surname. You also inherit the sort of like the legend, the myth, right? And it's just unheard of, it's unspoken, it's not discussed anywhere. Like, what does that feel like? The kind of pressures that come with it, the kind of grief you have to deal with, and the identity crisis that comes with it. Who are you, outside of these pressures? I think that is a conversation that he probably, wants to have, but doesn't see the support to, or the space to have that conversation online. And I also think that, we spoke about it. I remember as soon as this happened, I messaged on the group and I thought it's real because, it's very easy to fool me. I believe Friends reunion is also happening when it was fake news. It's easy to fool me. So I shared it and you guys said it's PR. And I was like, I was happy that this is PR because I was like, because if it's not PR, this is disturbing, this is concerning. And then it turned out to not be PR, which then made me jump back to my original stance, which is, it is very, very concerning. What is more concerning to me is that you don't allow a person, and of course, I'm not being naive when I'm like, I don't understand the repercussions a celebrity would face if they didn't have a PR machinery working for them in the background. But you don't allow the person to have a moment, like the person has clearly had a meltdown, clearly is going through stuff. And as you said, it's not the first time we've heard of it. We've heard it, in fact, very recently there was a video.
Yeah.
So it's very apparent, it's very obvious that it's happening. And the way the PR machinery has just rushed to kind of whitewash it and just like change the narrative around it and just say that, oh, he's just, going through an artistic whatever phase, and just like giving clarifications after clarifications, which makes me kind of feel, and it's sort of linked to what we just discussed, is that it's so true that even if you want to be honest and candid about your mental health struggles, it has to be Instagrammable, it has to have a certain aesthetic, it has to have a certain entertainment appeal which the audience can absorb, which the audience doesn't feel too uncomfortable being a part of, because something as raw as the breakdown that he had is not something that we are comfortable with. And forget like a celebrity, we are not comfortable seeing these breakdowns in like with our friends, with our family. If someone starts crying in front of, not with me because everyone comes to me when they have to cry, but I'm just saying it is as a society, I think like we're just like, as humans, are we just like feeling this bad where we can't accept certain moments of vulnerability of another actor. And yeah, what kind of phase is he in where was it also the death anniversary of Irfan?
Oh, I'm not sure.
No. But it's been, of course, it's a loss that you can't just get over. Like, it's just because it's been a few years doesn't mean that, you've gotten over it. It's a very personal loss, and I don't get it.
Tough look for everybody involved, but I think that again, just want to dissect some of this stuff. I think one part of it that you've alluded to is the angle of celebrity, that you succeed publicly, you fail publicly, you are happy publicly, you try not to be sad publicly, but when you are, there's no respite. I feel like one of the things that we really enjoy as society is seeing the downfall of celebrities. It's something that I feel like is very deeply embedded in us, and I'm not sure where necessarily it comes from. But I feel like you want to root for underdogs and outsiders, and the minute they get to a place of prestige, you want to see their downfall. It's like personal entertainment for you, not just when they're on screen, but even in their off-screen lives. And I have never enjoyed these kind of subreddits that just talk about gossip, etc. Because especially on Reddit, I feel like that's one of the rare spaces where you can have intellectual conversation. And the positive side of Reddit always shows you that you can be deeply engaged with the community and their moderation works great. And it's actually, when it's at its best, it's the smartest, most nuanced social media platform.
Yeah.
And I feel really sad that the most known Indian subreddits are probably Bolly Blinds and Insta Gossip, right? Which are just constantly tearing people down. There is no accountability for the stuff that goes on there. And I feel like that's where narratives are formed. I feel like it's also that's where the main opinion leaders kind of think of narratives, and then people pick those up, and then that goes to Twitter, and then that goes to Instagram. That's the way that it flows. And at no point even there was there, I feel like the genuine concern for Babil has always been an afterthought. You want to talk about the spectacle first. Yeah. And then the afterthought is, I hope he's okay. And I think what Nikhil also alluded to in his video, and him and I had a brief conversation about it yesterday, before the video went up actually, was that when Sushant Singh Rajput dies by suicide, the question is, where were the signs? He seemed so normal. He seemed so happy. He was doing so well. And then when you have somebody publicly struggling also, there is no real concern. It's like you shirk the responsibility and then you say, okay, his friends or his circle will take care of it. But the other thing which I feel like is the thing that we should talk about is that I feel like with celebrities, there's this expectation that you, like, in your sad moments, you have a support circle of people offline, right? Who you can talk to genuinely about this stuff. The fact that Babil chose to talk about some of it publicly, and it was almost framed as a
cry for help.
Yeah, no, not just a cry for help, but also like a revelation type. That मैं दुनिया को बता दूंगा that this industry is so fucked up and it's so this thing.
I can't take it anymore.
That this is So, I mean, we as people who are ancillary, I think, to the entertainment industry also, nobody's really surprised by it.
Yeah.
I don't think that there is anybody from the industry who'll say, oh, it's
just the aha moment. Like, we knew it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I hope that discourse also gets picked up. I feel like the reason that is not getting talked about is because people don't want to admit.
Yeah.
Because also admitting that the industry is messed up could lead to you getting less work. Speaking up about it, as we've seen in the past also, is something that's not beneficial to your career. So it also becomes like, is it in your best self-interest to support this person? Because it's not just now him going through a mental health issue, it is him criticizing the industry. Yeah. And that's a whole different thing, where it's very easy to say, hey, we're with you, man. Like, we hope that and we loved your dad and we hope that you're doing okay. And very different to admit that this industry is probably making whatever mental health issue you have worse. And nobody wants to admit that, which I think is part
even if they're not publicly doing that, I hope in private they are reaching out in whatever capacity. Because this whole thing just seemed, I mean, yes, you're right, it did seem just obvious for a lot of us, but also seemed, unreal. You know, the levels at which it played out, because, and I just want to say that, and I'm not disagreeing or anything, because I don't think this is an opinion. This is an experience that I have felt, which is that, in fact, I have seen very nuanced conversations happening on Reddit. Whereas, like, for example, as I said, the Misha Aggarwal case was not being discussed on. I did not know about her on Instagram.
Yeah.
I got to know about it on Reddit. I sent you oh my god, I'm really sorry. I sent you a Reddit link of the Babil Khan meltdown. So I have, at least these conversations are happening on Reddit, and I mean, there are all sorts of people with all sorts of opinions, but I just it really felt I don't buy this narrative is what I feel like. Because while I completely empathize with the mental health aspect of it, I don't buy the narrative at all, because it's either a PR activity that went wrong, which then they had to kind of rush to kind of save, or it's a very real mental health breakdown, meltdown, which they had to kind of change the narrative completely and say that, oh no, he's talking like nice things about these people and about the industry, he didn't really mean it, like, it just doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense if you like do a basic calculation of all the events. They don't add up in my head. And that's what's concerning to me, because there is a very real person behind all these narratives who is clearly not okay. And I hope someone's there for him.
And now the really hard thing is that from this, we always try to end the podcast on what gives you hope.
What gives you hope?
My God. After all of this.
I think this podcast, in a way.
I mean, I feel like last week, after everything that happened, I feel like we were just like, okay, now we have to do an episode. I genuinely feel like there are not a lot of spaces where these conversations are happening, and it's an act of courage, I feel like, on some level, to talk about it. Not glorifying ourselves, but just saying that it takes a little bit of courage also to talk about this stuff. We can't just pretend that everything is okay and do dance reels with Adam Mosseri, man. It's not like, we can't just like share Shah Rukh Khan pictures from the Met Gala, though he looks good or whatever. I mean, Sufi Motiwala, come on the podcast.
I just said,
I heard. I saw his face as you said that.
Also, you know the real me, so.
I do. So I feel like you can't just pretend everything is normal. It can be very tempting too. There are enough distractions going on. But I feel like it is important to talk about it. And I'm glad that we are back, not just this week, but hopefully week after week, to talk about this stuff. Because I really feel like it needs to be said. It's sad it needs to be said, but it does need to be said.
I mean, it's okay to indulge in, Met Gala looks or whatever, but I mean, not at the cost of ignoring or brushing things under the carpet completely, which are, I mean, there is, we were just talking, I think, off camera that there are certain things that we have personally experienced amongst our friend circles, which we are not going to be able to talk in front of the camera about. But it's, the danger, the kind of anxiety is very real. Yeah, you can't really be just ignoring it all. So I'm sort of grateful for this podcast. And I hope some people listen and just, I don't know if they'll change their opinions, but I hope.
I mean, one hopeful thing for me this week was I hung out with my parents. I took them to Chachad last week. So we hung out for like 4 days, which was really nice. And the thing that, sometimes I'm part of these family discussions and I don't agree with the opinion that they have, because my parents do watch TV news sometimes. They're used to it. And now I don't think there is a sane TV news channel in India in the mainstream that's doing a good job of nuanced takes. So I often worry that their takes are informed by these kind of channels. But my mom brought up the way that Himanshi Narwal is being told. She brought it up first. She talked about how Pakistani actors and creators are being banned. And her opinion was exactly like, are we not going to take accountability and are we not going to prioritize the things that need to be done? Or is there not going to be an investigation on how this whole thing happened? And that gave me hope. Like very often at Yuvaa, we say we get hope from young people. But in this case, I want to say that I did get hope from my parents and the way that they have responded to it. There is, I feel like, some amount of prejudice in our parents' generation for sure, which you see playing out in a lot of small ways. But my mom was spot on. So shout out to my mom.
Shout
out.
Give
me hope. Thank you for being sensible on this issue. At least. And
of course, WhatsApp universities. So
it's tough. I feel like for older people, it's probably tougher to have a nuanced opinion because you're just bombarded with so much information and you don't have the same tools that younger people have to check what is true, what is not.
Or the ability, maybe. Like you have the tools, but like you don't know how to access those tools. So I mean, definitely shout out, and I hope more parents read up, watch this podcast, change their opinions, etc., etc.
I hope so.
See you next week.
If you stuck it through to the end, thank you for watching another episode of So What. We're so sorry that we took a break, but we are back and we really genuinely hope to be consistent now. If you like this podcast, you should also follow the So What by Yuvaa Instagram handle. There's been a lot of content that we've been putting out. In fact, we did have a lot of static posts and reels about Pahalgam as well. So we're trying to make that place a hub for all editorial stuff. So follow it if you don't already follow it. You can also listen to this podcast on audio platforms wherever you get your podcasts, if you prefer to do that. Nikhil actually told me, he said that I watch Hasan Minhaj, but I listen to Trevor Noah because I need, if it's something that's a little bit more nuanced or deep, I need to process it in my own space. I feel like that's very aspirational for us.
I think you can listen to Kevin and watch me because I mean, even though he's a prettier face,
thank you.
I think I have more expressions to
You can watch and listen, do both wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, if you like the conversation, share, comment and subscribe to We Are Yuvaa on all social media platforms. Not just for this podcast, but also for some other really cool stuff that we're doing now. We're doing cool stuff. It's a good time to follow us, and thank you for watching. We'll be back next week.